Today's lesson is in Glenco, Chapter 8, Lesson 3. We're looking at functions and equations. Make sure you have the definition of linear function. It's a function whose graph will end up being a line as shown here. If we look over at page 596, we can see some examples. In example 1, we need to write an equation that represents the function table. So in your practice today, you'll see several tables and you'll have to figure out the function based on the information that is given to you in the table. So on problem A, we have a series of numbers as our input and output. All right, input is X and output is Y. All right, so if we'll look at these numbers, we will find our pattern in order to find the function. So I need to think to myself, how does the 1 become a 16? How does the 2 become a 32? And so on. Raise your hand if you can identify the pattern. Jay?
You multiply by 16.
All right, good. So Y, which is here, will equal 16 times the X. All right, and just to practice that, if I say 16 times 1, will I get Y? Yes. All right, if I say 16 times 2, 32, yes. Okay, so that's how I know for sure this is the function. All right, does anybody have a question on this one? All right, sometimes it might be adding or subtracting. This time it happened to be multiplied. Do you want me to work another one, or is that good?
We're good.
Okay. Seth?
Could it be dividing, like the output was on top and the input was on the bottom?
Well, you're going to see it as written as the input on the top and the output on the bottom, but your function might be to divide.
Okay.
All right, so when we're graphing linear functions, we're going to need to find order pairs. All right, so we'll be looking for the input and the output. The input is the X, the output is the Y. All right, in example 2, they give us a table. Actually, I'm sorry, they don't give us a table. I mean, you can see your table, but these problems will not give you the table. You're going to have to create it yourself. So let's just rework through example 2 so we have multiple examples. Your directions will look just like this. Graph Y equals 2X. That's all you're going to be given. So you will have to create the table. You will need 4 columns and 4 rows. Okay, column 1 will be your X. Column 2 will be your function. Column 3 will be the Y. And column 4 will be the ordered pair that you create. I'm going to relabel those just in case you forget when you get to that problem. All right, so remember X is your input. This is your function. Y is the output. And this will be the ordered pair that you create from your X and Y once you find what they are. So at this point, this is all we've been given. We are creating all of this from scratch. So step 1 will be to choose any 3 variables for X. Normally it's best to start with some low numbers. Those are easier to work with. So in the book they chose 0, 1, and 2. I'm going to write to the side, step 1, choose any numbers for variables. Okay, step 2, use the function to find the output. Remember, that's Y. Maybe I'll highlight the steps. Maybe better if I use different colors. Alright, so step 1 is happening right here, where I chose any numbers. Step 2 will happen. I'm going to have to do orange and then make it pink to make it the same exact color. Alright, so what I'll do is start with my function. So that would be 2 times x if x is 0. This one will be 2 times x if x is 1. And this one will be 2 times x if x is 2. Step 3, record output. Okay, so 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Step 4, record ordered pair. Okay, so my x is 0, my y is 0, my x is 1, my y is 2, x is 2, y is 4. Bless you. All right, and then I'll need to graph. And I'm going to have to do that on the back. All right, so I'm going to flip the page to graph on the back. You're already ready. You can create a coordinate graph. You'll only need quadrant 1. And remember, in quadrant 1, it's positives and positives. Because all of these numbers are positive. Seth?
Do we just need to make quadrant?
If you made all 4 quadrants, it's fine. Your graph will just only be in quadrant 1 based on these numbers in the order pairs.
Is that an E instead of an E?
Here? Okay, if you're not caught up, if you'll look in your book on 597, you'll see this exact table already made. All right, so then we're going to graph. Write my ordered pairs again. I'm doing 0, 0, 1 and 2, and then 2 and 4. Remember, this is your X, this is your Y. All right, 0, 0 is here at the origin. For 1 and 2, follow the x-axis first to 1 and then up to 2. 2 and 4, x-axis to 2, y-axis to 4. Okay, so if I have a straight line, then I know it's a linear function. There's other kinds of functions where your graph will have curved shapes, and those are different types, but we're just looking at linear functions. Okay, we need to try another one. Let's do C. All right, so we're going to graph y equals 3x plus 2. All right, step 1 is to make the table. You need a 4x4. Column 1 will be x. Column 2 will be the function. Column 3 will be y. And column 4 will be your ordered pair. All right, so we'll need to choose any 3 variables. 0, 1, and 2. You could choose any other numbers you wanted to. I like to stay low. Step 2, plug in your variables into the function so that we can solve for y. Now we need to actually solve this. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 will give me 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 will give me 5. And 3 times 2 is 6, 7, 8. Alright, now I'll need to write my ordered pairs. X is 0, Y is 2. X is 1, Y is 5. X is 2, Y is 8. Okay, again, we have all positive numbers, so it's just going to be quadrant 1 on our graph. Yes.
How'd you get 8 out of 7?
Three times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Okay, so now I'm going to plot the points on my graph. The first one is 0, 2. I always start with the x-axis, so it's 0, so I don't go to the right at all. But I'll need to go up 2. Next, I have 1, go over 1 on the x, up 5. And then finally, I go over 2 and up 8. I have a linear function. Okay, on example 3, it says to make a function table for the input and output values. You can see it gave you the input values are 1, 2, and 3. The output values 42, 44, and 46. You just put those in an X and Y table. That's it. That's not hard. You could graph that. X is 1, Y is 42. And plot those points. On example 4, it says to write an equation from the graph that could be used to find the height. Now, we did this yesterday, and this one was the hard part. So, let's try this again. This is example 4 on page 597. Okay, so it says to write the equation that could be used to find the height. All right, so what we have to do is first realize that it's not a one-step equation. There's not one thing I could do to this one and make a 42 and do the same thing on the next row. So that tells me there's going to be 2 steps in solving that. So I'll look first for the multiplication. What sort of increase do we have here in the Y column, Paige? All right, so from here to here, we have an increase of 2. So that tells me that I'll have a 2 times multiplier in my two-step equation, which would be a 2x. 2 times x. All right, now I've got to figure out what's the rest. So I'm going to do a little trial down here. If I had 2 times 1, and then I do something else to get 42. So if 2 times 1 is 2, what will I have to add to get to that 42? Shelby? Good. All right, so my equation then, it will have to be 2x plus a 40. Okay, and then on example 5, it's actually labeled as problem D. They give you a graph, a coordinate plane that's already been, the points have already been plotted for you. So you have to look at the graph and you have to figure out the ordered pairs just by looking at the coordinate graph. Paige?
Do you have to start at 1 on the graphs, or can it start at any number?
You could technically put negative numbers in there if you wanted to.
Like if it was the positive, could you start at any number, or would it have to be just 1?
You can do any.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to look at the graph in the book. I'm going to put it on the overhead so I don't have to draw it. And then if you're at home rewatching the video, you can pause it to look at it if you need to, if you don't have your book. You zoom in. So we're going to look at this graph to find the ordered pairs. And because our Y amounts are so large and they were trying to fit the graph into this little space, they did this little zigzag thing to show you there's a break in the numbers, that it's not from 0 up to 40. All right, so here's our X, here's our Y. So for our first ordered pair, the X will be 1 and the Y will be 20. So we're going to fill that in here. X is 1, Y is 20.
It's too big.
Okay, our next ordered pair, X is 2, Y is 25. Then we have 3 and 30. And 4 and 35. So we've done the first step of making the table, but now it wants us to write the equation for this. Okay, so looking at my numbers, I can tell this is not going to be a one-step equation. I need 2 steps. So first, let's see, what's our increase? Let's find our multiplier. Seth? The increase is 5. So that's our multiplier, 5x. Okay, let's do a little trial down here. So 5 times 1. We need to get all the way to 20. All right, so 5 times 1 is 5, but I've got to get to 20. So now how is that 5 going to become a 20, Nadia? Thank you. So that's the rest of the equation plus 15. Seth?
We'll type in the equation for the answer.
Correct.